You're listening to the Fantasy Fling podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us for a Friday fling as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
All right, welcome. Sorry, I know it took a little hiatus last year. My workload was a little crazy, but could have changed things up a little bit this year. One thing I want to get into more is a brand new contest. So, I do work at DFS Army. I do work for the Fantasy Face Off, all DFS, of course, and I love it. But everyone covers DraftKings, FanDuel. So what I want to get into this year is more of the newer contests. So obviously, best ball is a thing. It's huge. It's gaining so much popularity. But in addition to that, we now have weekly winners. So it's kind of DFS and best ball have merged, and we have weekly winners. So I want to cover a review show just on what is working, what kind of stacks we're seeing. Because it's a completely new contest and it's a large GPP. So you basically draft for an entire season. But the idea is you're trying to build a lineup that could potentially win at least 1 week. So it's $20K to first place as long as you win at least 1 week. So with that in mind, you obviously want to be able to build for a lot of upside, but you also want to have enough floor that you are obviously in the contention a lot of weeks and, not just 1 week. So I want to review those contests and then also focus on the daily draft. So each week it's basically DFS. Sleeper started it last year. There's sleeper contests, the daily drafts. There's now underdog contests and drafters. So want to get into those and break it down a little bit more for you. So that's what we're going to do on this show. That's going to be my emphasis is underdog, drafters, and maybe a little bit of sleeper. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Share my screen. And we will go over to Underdog. All right. So with the Underdog weekly winners, we're going to look at essentially what has taken down these contests so far, weeks 1 through 3. So let's start with week 1. So, we'll kind of look at the top 5 just because there can certainly be outliers. So let's start with the winning lineup. Now we had Tua scored 188 points. I'm guessing this was a Tua stack because I do the Millie Maker review on DraftKings for DFS Army. And yeah, this stack went crazy week 1. But no bring back like in the Millie Maker. So what you had was Tua plus Tyreek Hill. And no Jalen Waddle in here, of course. But yeah, just Tua and Tyreek Hill. And the bring back would have been an Austin Eckler bring back, or it could have been really any Chargers brings back, which you do not see. So we had Tua, we had Goff. Obviously, Aaron Jones had a smash week. Derrick Henry had 12. Raheem Mostert had 12. So actually, you had Tua, Raheem Mostert, and Tyreek Hill. So you had Tua with Tua. Josh Jacobs as well, and Donta Foreman. But really, it was Aaron Jones, Henry, and Raheem Mostert, and a little bit of Josh Jacobs. And then, you had Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, Jacoby Myers, Rashid Shaheed, Devontae Adams. So you had kind of a secondary stack in here with Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. So keeping the team stacks alive. And also you had versus Denver that game. So you could see this is kind of the strategy you want, right? You want stacks. And this was my strategy attacking this contest, was being able to get team stacks, game stacks, and oftentimes if you can get good players with going against good teams potentially, or just divisional matchups where they have, a ceiling game here and there, this is something where let's say obviously the Tua and Raheem Mostert and Tyreek Hill stack got at home, but also if Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams combined for a high scoring game against the Broncos that week with Dolchich, you're putting yourself in a much better spot to win. So just overall roster construction, these things obviously come into play, and also Jacoby Myers, yeah. So really a lot of players from two games that you're seeing, and this is kind of my strategy overall that I deployed for these weekly winners, just trying to stack games. And you could see it certainly worked for week one. And also, you got Justin Ross, KC versus Detroit. One of his other quarterbacks was Jared Goff. So I like it. I like it. Donta Foreman, Aaron Jones. So yeah, made sure to target a lot of players from the same game. Certainly worked for Palmer. And yes, 5 points above second place, 20K. That'll work. Now, Oogie, Tyreek Hill. You had to have Tua, right? Yeah. All right, Tyreek and Tua. And not seeing any other players there. And Mostert. So pretty popular. The first two lineups, very similar build. Tua, Raheem Mostert, and Tyreek Hill. The other quarterback being Jimmy G. Got Jimmy G, Josh Jacobs. So same idea. And Jacoby Myers. And the thing about Jacoby Myers, the reason why he was such a good addition is when you get like a Devontae Adams going against Denver, for example, they got Patrick Surtain. Now you get the number two, who's getting a ton of looks, and he's just roasting the number two cornerback for the Broncos. So this is a stack, obviously, that you're kind of banking on a lot of weeks. Yeah, if you got Josh Jacobs and you're hoping Jacoby Myers gets a good amount of looks with obviously a lot of coverage moving over to Devontae Adams. So KC in Detroit, you got a secondary game stack here. Obviously didn't do a whole lot, but nonetheless, you could see why it was done. Baltimore, Houston, and Jacksonville and Indy. So Tanks Bigsby and Calvin Ridley, you got another stack here. So, I think what we're seeing early on, something where you obviously, so obviously Tua, Raheem Mostert, and then Tyreek Hill, and then you have Jimmy G, Josh Jacobs, and Jacoby Myers. So you see the stacks are the emphasis of building these lineups, and really, it's a large field GPP. You don't know what's going to happen. It's early in the season, obviously, but that if you can guess on a few of these teams, guess correctly, you overstack some of these games, put in a team stack, you put in a game stack over 17 weeks, you give your chance a good possibility to potentially bank one of these. And especially if you got some heavy hitters like Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs and Tyreek Hill and Calvin Ridley. So certainly something to keep in mind as Tua and Tyreek is off to a great start. So that's the first couple. And then, let's just quickly go over to the third one. This one did not have Raheem Mostert, but it had Tua clearly. And then this actually had a bring back. So it had a Josh Kelly bring back for that first game. So you had Tyreek Hill and a Josh Kelly bring back. Now we had Jacoby Myers. Did we have Josh Jacobs? That's kind of been a constant in the first two lineups. It did not, but it had you have Marvin Mims, but you didn't need Marvin Mims, obviously. That's kind of a later season play that you're hoping works out. Nothing. New Orleans to Tennessee, Jacoby Myers, but there was obviously new Jacobs. Yeah, nothing too crazy there outside of obviously the most important sack. But let's go over to week 2. So this one even higher, 197 points. So Wilson and Stafford. Brian Robinson, Saquon Barkley. So this week you had, and I'm guessing this was probably in Marvin Mims because it was so high scoring. No. So you had a naked Wilson stack. Probably thinking Wilson was going to run more this year. I think he had like 50 yards rushing. So um, totally see that. But you did have a Brian Robinson bring back. So you had a little mini game stack there. No wide receivers on Washington's side. Matthew Stafford, Rams for San Francisco. So let's see if we got anything there. Very interesting. So totally different strategy. And, that's kind of where we're breaking this down. So Saquon Barkley, Rashad White, Chuba Hubbard, Tajay Spears, Jeff Wilson. So, but really, is Brian Robinson, Saquon, and Rashad White. And you do have a team stack with Rashawn White and Mike Evans, of course. Keenan Allen. Somewhat of a stack there with Tajay Spears. But yeah, pretty heavy at wide receiver this week with Allen, Evans, Nico Collins, who smashed, and then pretty crazy that Tyreek Hill was like the fifth guy in this lineup, considering the start he's off to this year. And then yeah, pretty deep at tight end with Hawkinson, Schultz, but more so Hawkinson this week. Just 2 points above second place. So let's see what second place did. Daniel Jones, Saquon. So yeah, that's what took down the Millie Maker. Not a surprise. And I'm guessing we're probably gonna have Waller or another wide receiver. No, just Saquon. But interestingly enough, with Saquon Barkley, he does catch a lot of passes. I think he got like 7 targets last week. So that's just something to keep in mind. Joe Burrow, he didn't do really much. So, but T. Higgins had a great game. So that sack actually did pay off. And then Baltimore was obviously in it. Let's see, we got Mostert, McCaffrey. Wow, to get Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey, obviously you're kind of going to start your draft that way, and then was able to get most likely a Joe Burrow stack with T. Higgins coming around. But yeah, Evans, T. Higgins with the Burrow stack and going against Baltimore. And no Baltimore, but also no Hayden Hurst, not with Cincinnati anymore. So pretty good, great start to the draft, obviously. Oh, Tyler Boyd. Okay, so there's the secondary, the second player rather with the Joe Burrow stack. And then you got Mike Evans and Chase Claypool. So, what we're seeing obviously so far is a lot of stacking going on. A lot of small stacks though. So nothing too heavy, obviously, which makes sense because we haven't really had any games that really went crazy. In the games that we did, it would have been hard to, like, for example, it would have been hard to get Austin Eckler and Tyreek Hill, right? So that's why, the first week you didn't see like on DraftKings, for example, in the Millie Maker, you will see the Tua to Tyreek Hill with the Eckler bring back, but you're not going to see that on Underdog because, Eckler and Tyreek Hill are both first round picks. So some things would have to go really wrong in that draft ADP wise for that to happen. So. And then let's take a look at the third lineup. So, yeah, same thing. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley. Now, this lineup did have Russell Wilson and Joe Burrow. So, we'll see what kind of other stacks we can find there. So, Jones, Wilson, and Burrow. So we got Jamar Chase. So it was Daniel Jones and Barkley, and then we got Jamar Chase with Burrow, and then it looks like Wilson was unsacked again. Puka Nakua, smash play. A secondary game stack here with Christian Kirk and Kadarius Toney. Sorry, I'm kind of watching the San Fran game right now. Debo Samuel just had a beast of a play. um, Speaking of the next San Fran play, Raheem Mostert. So you got him in that game versus New England. Not seeing any sacks with him. Little stack here with Keenan Allen and Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears off to an incredible start. He is a guy that certainly will tilt a lot of matchups if for some reason Derrick Henry goes down, because he's been off to a great start, and Tajay Spears was a late round target for me in a lot of these drafts, both in best ball and weeklies. So we'll see how. Hopefully Derrick Henry can stay healthy the whole season, but if not, I'm guessing a lot of the rest of the way we will see a lot of Tajay Spears, because right now he's actually leading the league in yards per carry for what I was just looking at earlier over at PFF. So overall great lineup. And then, yeah, Kyron Williams, I'd be amiss to not mention him. Obviously, Cam Akers got the healthy scratch this past week, and Kyron Williams had a tremendous start. So, and they actually just traded Cam Akers over to Minnesota. So this is a guy kind of the same thing, at least with the start of the year. He's a guy who was a late round target. In fact, we'll look at his pick number 190. So obviously a late round pick. And if you drafted him, you're going to be in a position to win probably a lot of games, or just be in contention, specifically in these weekly winners and in best ball every single week. And your advance rate is going to be quite high. Now, yeah, Toney, Christian Kirk. And then Jameson Williams is a guy for people who drafted him. Obviously that's a late round ticket, but yet this person still was able to win 9,000 this week. So pretty remarkable stuff. But yeah, as far as the weekly winners go, I think that's probably going to do it for now. One thing I'm going to do is obviously, in addition to just looking at the review for the weekly winners, I'm going to do a day. This is more so the weekly winners for the underdog, but I want to focus more so on the daily drafts as well for underdog, and in addition drafters and a little bit sleepers, because the weekly winners is kind of a different format. You're going to draft for the season and you compete each and every week to win the number one spot that week. But we also are going to have a show for, the main slate that you drafted for. This week it's going to be week 3 and then week 4 and so on. So you draft specifically in advance of that week. So we're going to drop that on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to hit that comment button. Let us know who you drafted, who you think will be in the nuts in week 4 and week 3, obviously in front of it. And, subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss an episode, as I'm going to do this in each and every week. So for those who are going to be drafting for the week 3 main slate, stay tuned, because I'll be dropping a show Saturday morning. We'll see y'all later.